Now, I've been wanting to watch this anime since last year, but I never got around to it because I'm apprehensive of magic and fantastical themes with the school in it. Yeah, it might seem like I'm dissing on Harry Potter fans, but I'm not. I love Harry Potter. Hufflepuff pride here, right? Yeah, so. But the whole trope of sorcery has been played out in whichever way you can think of it. Or at least I thought that. As you'll find out in the episode, I was wrong. So, a number of people had recommended me to watch this anime, and Instagram's algorithm certainly persuaded me to actually go onto Netflix and start watching this blindfolded sensei and a show that would take me by a storm. And dare I say, Jujutsu Kaisen, you are on the top of my list. Welcome everybody, welcome to another episode of This Is Not What I Meant. I'm Anandi Badal, your host, and I really want to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen. So, my idea for this episode was that I'll just watch the first episode of the anime, and then I'll do a reaction thing like I did with Attack on Titan. So, what I did with that episode was that I watched that show after a long time of somebody else recommending it to me. And then I had to talk about it. So it's part of my series called What Was That? So I did it with Attack on Titan. I did it with Midnight Gospel, which was actually my gateway to the podcast community, I guess. Yeah. So I wanted to do that. I wanted to do Jujutsu Kaisen. What Was That? So I'll explain what my theories were going into the show and yeah, what do I expect? But that didn't happen. Yeah, so I started the show and I just couldn't stop watching. Because it always ended on a cliffhanger and I felt like I need to watch it because it was so enticing, right? And then I went, okay, maybe I'll watch the rest of it. And JJK only has like one season out for the anime. And then I'll do a spoiler-free review, like I have been doing for my past episodes, for Kakegurui, for Psychopath. I'm explaining like the first season in it without actually giving out any of the spoilers. So I thought I'll do that with JJK. But even that didn't happen. So you see where I'm going with this, right? I finished the season. And then I read the rest of the manga series. And I have never done that. All 152 episodes, all 152 chapters actually. Yes, manga has chapters. Sorry. So yeah, I couldn't help myself. I had to read the story and I needed to find out what happens ahead. So right now, I know everything that's about to happen in the anime. Like the future seasons, but you know what? I'm still gonna watch it when it comes out. And to Gege Akutami, the author of this manga, thank you for writing this. Okay. Yeah. So I probably should talk about the show now. Now you might already know the Jujutsu. Like in Japanese, it means two different things based on the way you pronounce it. So, Jujutsu would mean unarmed combat, while Jujutsu with a shorter U means curse magic or sorcery, and that is what the show is about: curse magic and sorcery. So, the main theme of JJK is that it has people called the Jujutsu sorcerers fighting creatures called the cursed spirits who come into this world as a manifestation of negative thoughts by humans. And we folks have a lot of negative thoughts. There are a lot of demons, right? I'll cue the music. Imagine Dragons. That's a nice song despite it being overplayed, I guess. So we have a lot of demons, we have a lot of cursed spirits, and they roam around in this universe in Jujutsu Kaisen. So yeah, there are obviously grades to the spirits depending on the kind of energy it has. So some are low level, some are special grade, and equivalent to fight these spirits, the sorcerers have their own ratings. So the blindfolded sensei is actually like pretty dope. Yeah, but I'll get to him. So everyone in this universe has their own cursed technique or their jujutsu. So it's JJK's version of a mutant with special powers. And you just have to watch this show for the coolest side character. Yeah, so I'm getting to the blindfolded guy, right? So, Gojo Satoru. Why do I laugh at his name? Because it pains me to say that he's a side character, but he's awesome and he's powerful. Okay, so now I'm gonna do something that I have not done in my podcast yet, which is to give a spoiler warning. So this is the first for me, so I'm excited to say it. So let me do it, okay? Okay, so yeah, you have to wait for the spoiler warning. Yeah, here it goes. Okay, I'm gonna get to this. Yeah. Following episode contains spoilers for the show Jujutsu Kaisen. Proceed at your own risk. I repeat, spoilers ahead. Did I do it? Okay. Okay, you still here? Alright, it's time for theories. Yeah, so I'm assuming you've seen the show. I'm assuming that you've seen the anime, season 1 anime. So I'm not gonna discuss that because I had a lot of doubts. Actually, the more I read into it, the more I saw the show again, actually. After finishing it, I'm like, I'm gonna watch this show again. I never do that with shows. If it's not a sitcom, it's not easy to start it again, I guess. Yeah, so about Jujutsu Kaisen, right? So I'm assuming that you've seen the season. So Yuji's grandfather, like, we had to talk about that guy. What kind of ominous warning was that? Like, he has to be a sorcerer himself or something like it. I mean, those last words, right? You would die surrounded by people. That's what he said to Yuji. And so my first thought was that Itadori would die in a crowd of people while fighting, which seems heroic and more likely to happen. But the first time he died in episode 5, and we need to talk about episode 5, he only had Megumi for him. And I think after eating all the fingers, Sukuna would invoke the binding vow with Yuji to take over his body and have a conversation with Megumi, to say the least. Like, he would definitely find a way to do that. Now about episode 5. I think episode 5 for any series, I haven't seen that much anime, but even in AOT, so like you can spend like the next 30 seconds I'm gonna talk about AOT episode 5 season 1. So in that one we find that Eren has become a titan, because he can become a titan. Oh, I forgot how does he become a titan. But yeah, something happens, he becomes a titan, and that was in episode 5, and that's when we find out that people can become titans, and maybe these weird looking creatures are actually humans who have turned into titans. So that changes the whole game. Like in episode 5 that happens. For JJK, episode 5 meant to watch Itadori die. And so episode 5 was the one where we see Megumi, Nobara, and Yuji fight a special grade cursed spirit in a detention center. And Nobara and Megumi escape, leaving Yuji alone with the spirit. Now, this is something I couldn't find an answer to even after reading the manga or going on to Reddit. And I think I've come to my own conclusions as I would talk about it. So while I was writing the script, I was like, okay, maybe that makes sense. So I couldn't find an answer to the thing that, like, when Sukuna comes out from Yuji, when he ingests the finger and Sukuna takes over Yuji's body, Yuji is not able to take over himself, right? And he's only able to take over himself, over his body, until much later. And I don't know why, but I think that was intentional. Yeah, so like, even though he dies, I think that was intentional on his part. So hear me out, right? Sukuna comes out, he defeats the cursed spirit, he meets up with Megumi, and to make sure Yuji doesn't come out again, he takes the heart out of himself. Oh, that is so Moriarty. Like Moriarty says to Sherlock, I'll burn the heart out of you. Like, that was fun. That was okay. And that is so poetic, I think. That could be. Yeah, so he takes a heart out of himself, and because without a heart, a human would die. Duh. But a curse wouldn't. And Sukuna is the curse. Yeah. Megumi and Sukuna fight, which needless to say is not an equal fight. Till Megumi is about to do something that piques Sukuna's interest. Yes, I'm talking about the 10 Shadows technique. For anime-only viewers, 10 Shadows technique is equivalent to the 6 eyes, which is Gojo's course technique. So you can imagine it's a big deal. Like, they are on the same level. If Megumi taps into that, he would be invincible, like Gojo. And that is when Sukuna tells Megumi, like when he sees that he's about to, do his technique, Sukuna tells Megumi that he shouldn't have run away from the special grade spirit back in the detention center, since it was a waste of his talent. And I think this is one of the most non-moment I've seen in any show. It just passed me by. I had to watch it a couple of times to actually realize what that meant. I'm like, that obviously the show actually comes back to that moment time and time again when Sukuna's motivations are to be shown. But yeah, it was the most non-moment. Like, I would just define these kind of moments like when Reiner and Berthold, how do you pronounce that guy's name? When they I think I actually refer that further, like when they actually yeah. Okay, I think, yeah, I'm reading my notes. Yeah, okay, that comes up later. Okay, so anyway, so this is like the most non-moment I've seen. So this scene, when I say a non-moment, I mean that this scene has ramifications much later into the show, and it defines the whole story for Sukuna and Megumi at least. So I had a weird feeling when I realized that, because my first instinct wasn't that Sukuna is going to redefine his strategy. It was that Yuji went through all of that just because he wanted to know Megumi Fushigro's intention on saving his life. Because in that scene they have a conversation, and Fushiguro, a lot of things are going on in his mind. He's thinking about his sister. He thinks about principles, because that is what happens in anime. People always go back to their root principles and what are the motivations behind it, or what memories are there to support what they believe. So Megumi is doing that. He's doing all of that just before his death. It's very cliche anime thing for a character to do. So he does that, and he's thinking about it, and when he thinks about Yuji and saving him, so he says that he saved him because he wanted to, and he admits that to Yuji or Sukuna, whoever is occupying that body, and at that moment Yuji comes out. So I think Yuji was curious because, if he hadn't done that, there of course wouldn't be any story for us to discuss here. Like, if Megumi hadn't saved Yuji's life, we wouldn't be having the show, right? Obviously they had to set up the plot somehow. But I think Yuji was curious because for him it must have felt everything happened so fast, right? In the first episode, after his grandfather's death, and then he ate a cursed finger, which he had never seen before, and then he fought a creature, which he has never seen before, and then met this mysterious man and just helped him. He just helped him. And now I know his motivations were because of what his grandpa said to him. But even when he knew it was risky for Megumi to save him, and maybe he wanted to know if something deeper was at play here. So I think that is what piques me at that scene when I go back and watch it. Because it almost feels like his face, like the character's face, he just says that, okay, that's why you... It says that, okay, that's why you saved him, and he doesn't say it out loud, and then he dies. Yeah, and then he dies. Also, another take at the scene can be that once Sukuna realized Megumi can actually defeat him with his 10 shadows technique, right? He gave up that internal fight with Yuji and let Yuji take over the body. I think even Yuji knows in his subconscious that he'll come back from the dead. Even if he dies, he'll come back. I think even if that, exchange that they have afterwards in his body and in his domain, it's very interesting to see two souls occupy a body. So I think that definitely added to my interest of the show. Suffice to say, this scene reminded me of Attack on Titan so I came back from that, the non-moment moment. This scene reminded me of Attack on Titan when Reiner tells Eren the truth about himself. But I think JJK did it better because, the writing is subtle in the show and it is more layered. AOT had a lot of exposition, straight away exposition in the show. I think that it's a fun watch, yeah. So, no, enough about that. So, a character that I'd like to talk about here, as to motivations that we're discussing. Interesting. So, is Mahito. I want to talk about Mahito, the patch-face cursed spirit. First of all, brilliant look for a cosplay. I love the stitchy kind of tattoos on his face and the hair, the clothes, amazing. Brilliant cosplay character. So when Mahito is first introduced in the show, I thought he'd be like one of those serial villains. Like, for instance, hey, this is the antagonist for the next 3 episodes and our protagonists have to fight him. The formula that animes or TV shows use. Like, they have this one villain for a show, one villain for an episode or couple of episodes, and you're like, okay, they're going to defeat him, and then your interest loses by the time you reach the 3rd episode. So I thought that would happen, but no. And you think that, like, his arc would end, which it does. Like, Mahito's arc ends momentarily, or for the time being. At that point, like, Nanami and Yuji defeat him during that school event, and the whole scene is similar to what Jogo and Hanami have with Satoru. But the thing about Mahito as a villain that piqued my interest in him was his interaction with Junpei. Yeah, that kid. So he admits that his motivations are driven by the philosophy that consequences for our actions are not always equally matched. Good people die bad deaths. Bad people get away with things. The inequality of the reality is the only equality that everyone gets. I'm gonna repeat that. Yeah. The inequality of the reality is the only equality that everyone gets. So basically he says, like, do whatever you want. No, don't make a big boss joke. No, don't make a big boss joke. Okay, yeah. Okay. So what Junpei does not realize, like when he admits that, when Junpei doesn't realize that it applies to Mahito and his own equation as well. Was it really a betrayal when Mahito turns him into a monster? It was not. Okay, that was too loud. It was not a betrayal. It was not. So, because he apparently, by his own logic, did nothing wrong. And this is a personality trait that you must look out for in future seasons. Just a hint, because Mahito fucks shit up and it is devastating. If I were you, I'd be pretty excited to see his story play out. Another story that I think all the fans are waiting to pan out is Gojo Satoru's. This invincible, cool, and charming character is surprisingly the first person we see when the show starts. And I'm glad animators decided to do that. Gojo Sensei sells Jujutsu Kaisen. He sells it. First off, everyone knows he looks very much like Kakashi from Naruto, and that is not an accident. Gege Akutami has taken inspiration from Naruto, Neon Genesis Evangelion, Bleach, One Punch Man, Hunter x Hunter. So if you notice any similarities, they are there for a reason. But man, Satoru has a screen presence. You know he's not the protagonist, but you secretly want him to be. At the same time, you love the limited screen time he gets. Makes him all the more special. A very good fashion choice. The black blindfold is something that I was curious about when I first saw it. Turns out he doesn't wear it to hide his beautiful eyes from the world, but to save his energy. He can see things we cannot. So wearing a blindfold doesn't really blind him. It just saves him from overanalyzing everything he sees because of his six eyes technique. I can't wait for the flashback episodes with young Gojo and when he really discovers his true powers. It's a delight. It was a delight to read in the manga, and I'm waiting for it to be animated. So it also explains his invincible nature and his foreseeing kind of personality. So I'm gonna talk more about the blindfold now. So oh my god. About the blindfold. So like in Once Upon an Anime, the episode I did to begin with the series, I discussed how the eyes are a big aspect of animation and anime storytelling. So how does a character like Gojo command such a screen presence? It's how they set him up, isn't it? He's like John Wick. Everyone hypes him up, from his pupils to his nemesis. From the get-go, viewers are conditioned to think that he's the greatest MVP in JJK universe. And one way the creators do it is by pitting him against another invincible character like Ryomen Sukuna. Now, we don't know much about Sukuna except that he is not to be fucked with. But as for his personality, the best way to describe it would be as a freelance villain with the most talent. I'm not degrading him, it's just that all the unregistered special grade spirits are kind of horny for Sukuna. And oh god, that's a funny tongue slip. Okay, so anyway, these special grade spirits want to please him and want to get him to their side, their side is actually to kill all humans and to eliminate the source of uncontrolled cursed energy, which seems problematic, not because I'm a human myself. It doesn't seem problematic to me because I'm a human. Well, it's a show. Fuck it. But you eliminate cursed energy and these spirits are not going to manifest. Isn't that how it works, right? So it's not like the existing ones can reproduce, I guess, except Mahito, who turns humans into monsters, and I think he likes it. Anyway, they want Sukuna to be on their side, but he doesn't give a shit. He lives on his own terms and his whims like a true, fun villain. Mind you, this guy kills a lot of people, has killed a lot of people, and loves killing people. And I'm reminded of that assassin for hire in Rick and Morty, where this planet destroying gas cloud, and this assassin has to destroy him, but he's not able to. And when he gives his card to Morty, he's like, "Oh well, I just love killing. Yeah, he can kill anyone and stuff like that. No bar." So yeah, Sukuna is like that. He just loves killing, but not a purpose sort of thing that other curse spirits are hoping for. And since he used to live on his own terms, almighty and all-powerful, just imagine how irritating it must be for him to be under Yuji's control. And that is what he keeps saying, that he cannot believe his luck. Right? So when Yuji ingests that finger, what he does is that he revives a part of Sukuna, but without most of his power. Of course, we see that when he takes over the body, he's not less than anybody else. Sukuna is powerful and is fearful, but he knows that it is not his true potential. It is 1/20th of it, because there are 20 fingers. Anyway, when the show pits Sukuna against Gojo, in the first episode, for those 10 seconds, it is only done to establish how powerful Gojo is. And despite having an opponent like Suguna, but I'm gonna address it. Yeah, I am gonna address it, and even the anime does, because at his full power, we don't know what might happen, though Satoru is confident that he'll defeat him. And with that, we come to Gojo's curse technique, the 6 eyes. The manga goes into a lot of detail about what it is, but basically what Gojo can do is combine the cursed and reversed cursed energy together. Most sorcerers only have one of those things, or could do one of those things at a time. So when he does that, he can conjure the infinity with limitless. This is my favorite thing, and I get how that could be confusing, like how could we have a favorite thing here, but I just love this paradox, and it has been part of my hallucinatory dreams, the ones you have when you fall sick. Okay, I revealed something like that. Oh, yeah. But yeah, paradoxes are part of life, and it's fun when you get to see them in things or shows like this. So the infinity that Gojo conjures, I think, is based on Zeno's paradox, which is like the half-life concept for radioactive elements, as they never really get eliminated. Let's take an example for understanding this. So there's this person called Sam, and he has to cover a distance from his initial point A to his destination B. What Zeno states in his paradox is that Sam must cover half of the distance between A and B to reach his destination. To travel the remaining distance, he must travel half of what's left over. No matter how small a distance is still left, he must travel half of it, and then half of what's still remaining, and so on ad infinitum. With an infinite number of steps required to get there, clearly he can never complete the journey. And that's what Zeno states, that motion is almost impossible. So how does it translate to Gojo's conjuring the infinity? So in one of the episodes, we see Jogo, the volcano head cursed spirit, fighting against Satoru. There's this moment where he thinks that he managed to touch him, but he actually didn't. As Satoru explains, he has infinity all around him. The more you get closer to him, the slower you get. You are still moving, but comparable to Zeno's paradox, instead of infinite number of steps in a finite space, you have infinite number of steps in an infinite space. Or basically it means that you are at a standstill. It's not like we don't reach our destinations despite this paradox. But with Satoru, the infinity around him helps us to visualize what Zeno meant. That the concept of motion is non-existent. Like, it's not possible. The motion is not possible. And I think that is what Satoru shows. That even though you are moving, you're not moving. And I think that is amazing. I also talked about dreams, but I guess that would be a whole other episode, and I'll take up this paradox again along with others, and maybe ask you guys if you had any weird dreams like that. I'll tell you where did I have the Zeno paradox, and I think I've talked about it with my friends, and that's so funny. But anyway, coming back to our topic at hand. So one character that I believe the first season of the anime is sleeping on is Geto. And I think he has the most interesting curse technique in the show, and it's not even revealed yet. Like, I know what it is because I've read the manga. So I guess that is something to look forward for in the anime, and the technique is epic in terms of the whole concept of cursed spirits. I like Mahito's soul manipulation technique as well. It's very functional. And you can just imagine how that's going to pan out. So the things that I'm looking forward in the story overall are Sukuna's origin story. Like, I need to know what that almighty powerful and all that sassiness comes from, I guess. It's amazing. Like, he is age old, and I also need to know whether he looks like Yuji or it's just that he's, embodying him, so that I guess that's why he looks like him. So I need that differentiation as well. And then another thing is Ghetto's. Well, here I really can't give a spoiler, but I will say Ghetto's meetings with people to set up what he sets up, and that's all I say. That's all I'll say. Another thing, Yuji obtaining a curse technique. Now, I know it's established that he's all muscle, but I really want Sukuna's cursed energy to be embedded in him. Memory manipulation is very neat when you come to think of it, and I think that should be Yuji's curse technique. It would really suit him, because it would obviously, be in his favor, but in a non-threatening way. And I guess obviously he doesn't like killing off people. And similarly, I would want this to happen for Maki as well. She's also one of the characters that is going to shine in later seasons, and is really amazing. One other thing is that Satoru, Nanami, and Fushihiro's hot dad in the flashback. The manga showed really amazing panels, and I think that would come out beautiful in anime. And also Nanami, we wish that you could have gone to Malaysia. And the Shibuya. Yeah, the Shibuya incident, I want it to be animated. What a well-established event in the story. It goes on for more than 50 chapters in the manga, so I bet it'll be a season on its own. Let's see. An interesting point to know for JJK as an anime series is that the characters are not sexualized for the fan service. I think I should have this check at the end of all my episodes. Does the show have fan service? There's a reason that it's not sexualized, and it's because Gege Akutami said that his parents read the manga and that he didn't want to seem offensive. Lol. Well, I'm glad that it is this way, even though I like Kakeguru. I still would say that JJK has fan service for people like me who love male characters with charisma, charm, power, authority. And you can mix in goofiness with it, but you still maintain that authority, and that's like, you have a screen presence. It's amazing. So I think Gojo Sensei fits this description well, and I definitely watched the first time I watched it, I was like, this person needs more screen time. And the second time I watched it and then I read the manga, I'm like, okay, well, now I understand. I think one of the reasons why I took this show as hard as I did was that I do enjoy rationalizing the supernatural the best I can. And the novelty of finding someone's power and using that information against them somehow is interesting to see like this. Everybody loves major showdowns, and this show has a lot of it, but in a true sense of an anime, there's a lot of emphasis on character motivations in the show along with their powers. And it is funny despite of how gory and fatal it is. Also, Mappa did a great job with the animation. Amazing. Yeah, well, yeah, I guess that is where I'll end it. I mean, I didn't talk about a lot of characters into the show, but everybody has their own course technique, their stories, and all what I said, all the theories that I discussed, and all the points that I had. So those were the ones that stuck out to me. So, well, that was it for Jujutsu Kaisen, and I had an interesting time reading the manga. Honestly, it was my first, and the flow of the story was beautiful. The online aspect of it really, it certainly added to the experience since the readers left comments, and I had immediate gratification when I felt elated or sad, as I could see other people expressing the same feelings and discuss very specific plot points. And as you can see with this episode, how much I love doing that. Well, that was fun. I did it. And I would really love really enjoy feedback on this one, actually. Specific stuff, whether you like spoilers or not, you want me to discuss any plot points, and I do like discussing paradoxes or, any scientific or mathematical aspect to anything that's shown. And that is fun. Yeah, that is like debunking things in a way. Yeah, it's not like made up. People can read up on things and create their stories. So yeah, that was fun. Well, anyway, I'm Anudeep Patel, and keep listening to This Is Not What I Meant. And also to this wonderful outro, best ending song that I've ever heard in an anime, and it got an award for it. Okay, I should go. Okay, bye.